In a world where carbs are your enemy, you need one man to help you fight your battles. That man is Jimmy.
Combating nutrition disinformation and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
Welcome to the Nutritional Pearls Podcast, featuring nutritional therapy practitioner Christine Moore and hosted by veteran health podcaster Jimmy Moore. Listen in as they feature nuggets of nutritional knowledge and provide practical application of what to do with this newfound dietary wisdom in your pursuit of optimal health. Visit our website, nutritionalpearlspodcast.com, to explore more nutritional pearls that could change your life. And now it's time to blow you away with today's featured nutritional pearl. Here's Jimmy and Christine.
Guys, welcome back to another YouTube Live. We are live here on YouTube, here on Instagram Live, and we're here with another episode of Jimmy Rants. This is our weekly Jimmy Rants Nutritional Pearls Podcast crossover episode. So if you are brand new to Jimmy Rants, go to jimmyrants.com. You'll see how the show works. We start off on YouTube Live or Instagram Live. Sometimes we throw in Facebook Live, but we go live, and I'm live everywhere at Living Low Carb Man. So go check us out, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. And you can engage live on my Instagram channel, my YouTube channel, or my Facebook channel. And then we post all of the episodes in archive form over on YouTube. So definitely go follow me on YouTube. Type in Jimmy Rants as a keyword search. You will find the show. Finally, we do have a podcast associated with Jimmy Rants over on Apple Podcasts as well as Stitcher. All of these links are at jimmyrants.com. But also, this is the Nutritional Pearls Podcast. So we're going to start that podcast. It airs on Mondays, nutritionalpearlspodcast.com. We're going to start that podcast right now. Hey guys, we're back here on the Nutritional Pearls Podcast. Nutritionalpearlspodcast.com is the website. This is the show where we talk about nutrition, not necessarily any specific nutrition, but nutrition through the prism of nutritional therapy. And to help us do that, we have a nutritional therapy practitioner, her name Christine Moore, NTP. What's up, Chris?
Not much, just hanging out with you.
Hanging out with you, and my name's Jimmy Moore. I'm the international best-selling author of Keto Clarity, and our latest book that we have together is called
Real Food Keto.
Real Food Keto. So realfoodketo.com if you're interested. But we are here on our weekly show that we do as a crossover episode of Jimmy Rants and the Nutritional Pearls Podcast, doing it live. And so I thought today, why don't we ask all of our peoples, we love you peoples, to chime in with your questions about nutritional therapy. So give them some ideas of the kind of questions that you want to answer.
So anything dealing with digestion,
Yeah.
anything dealing with hydration, vitamins and minerals, I'll do my best to answer any questions in that field.
Yeah.
And then maybe some detoxification.
Yeah. And adrenal health.
Adrenal health and how that relates to hormones and stuff like that. So.
And you do have autoimmune disease, so there's a lot of people that deal with that as well. So
Yep.
could certainly answer some of those. So we did on Instagram. So I'm going to pop over to Instagram. We did have one question on Instagram. Any vitamin recommendations for someone going keto carnivore that does not include organ meats? Well, the first answer is try to include organ meats.
Right?
It's so funny. Usually when people ask questions, I get this on Keto Talk, my Thursday podcast. People will ask questions, and within the question, they're answering it. They know the answer. They just want confirmation. Are you sure? But what say you, NTP?
So a big one, in my opinion, is K2.
Yeah.
And D kind of goes along with that.
Right. Vitamin D, right.
That most people are not deficient in calcium, but they are deficient in D and K2. Organ meats are very rich in the K2, and so are your leafy greens. But if you're doing carnivore, you're not getting those leafy greens. So I would take a vitamin D3 K2 supplement. This kind of helps tell calcium where it needs to go in the body so you don't develop bone spurs or osteoporosis or something like that. Zinc is another one that's really good in organ meats.
And that's good for stomach acid primarily.
Well, it's good for stomach acid and it's good for immune health too. So it's an immune booster. Vitamin A, maybe. I mean, the thing is those organ meats are so nutrient dense, and you don't need a lot of them. And we've heard people mix some organ meats in their like meatloaf or hamburger
it's
patties.
Easy to hide it within like a ground beef. Yeah.
But the important thing with these organ meats is to make sure that you get the best quality, especially if you're doing liver. Because the animal, it's very important as to what the animal has eaten.
So grass-fed, you're saying?
You need to get grass-fed and
grass-finished.
Grass-finished if possible. If not, you can do grass-fed, grain-finished. But you're still going to deal with some of the toxins in that liver. So the quality. So I would encourage you to try to incorporate the organ meats. However, if you don't, there is an organ complex that you can take that has a lot of those nutrients. So maybe you can look into that too.
So beyond the organ meats, which is the what could they do to get some of that, to answer the question, beyond organ meats? Is supplementation enough?
Yeah, I mean...
That's a trick question because... The real answer is no. Yeah, well, you want to get nature's vitamin if possible, which is organ meats.
That's the preferred way. But if you're not going to do the organ meats, like I said, you can do that organ complex that's freeze dried and
it's still deficient though. I was talking to this Dr. Paul Saladino on the Live and La Vida Low Carb show the other day, and he was asking me with my keto carnivore whether I'm including any organ meats, and I told him about the complex, and he said, oh, it's so minuscule amounts in even the complex. You would have to take so much of the complex in pill form to get anywhere close to the nutrient density that you get in actually eating the organ meats.
Yeah, and a lot goes into...
It's better than nothing, I suppose.
Well, it is. But a lot goes into whether you're going to be getting enough either way. If your digestion is not working right, you're not going to be able to digest and absorb those nutrients properly. So it's a big picture, but I would say if you're not including the organ meats, you have to supplement.
Yeah. So if you're just joining us, we are doing our weekly show that is the Jimmy Rants Nutritional Pearls podcast crossover episode. We're live on Instagram here. We're live on YouTube there. We're going to be coming to you here in a minute, YouTube, but we've got a few more questions. And if you have your questions, please type them in about nutritional therapy. This is not like general keto questions, but about nutritional therapy, which I can't get that to... Oy vey. Hi. So I just sent a hi. There we go. Whew. I couldn't get it to let go. It was like...
It froze on you.
Stuck on me. Okay, so going back to the questions. Downtown Vapors, what is the best mineral supplement for a 25-year-old male who eats a really bad diet?
First of all, don't eat a bad diet.
Is eat real food. That's your supplement.
First of all, eat a good diet. Mineral supplement... depends on what your need is. I mean, if you need electrolytes, then it's an electrolyte complex thingy with the sodium, the magnesium, the potassium, calcium, that sort of thing.
Keto Vitals, we like that one a lot. We also like Jigsaw Health.
Yeah, but it just depends on what your needs are. The problem with a crappy diet is that it ends up leaching. Your body has to deal with that crap. Yeah. And it actually, in order to deal with that crap, it has to take nutrients from your body. And so you become depleted. So my first inclination would be say to improve your diet.
Eat real food. That's the best supplement for a 25-year-old who eats really bad. Eat real food.
But zinc, again, is another one that's good for...
What is it?
Zinc.
Oh, zinc.
Zinc, good for stomach
acid.
I
thought you said think again. No. I was like, think again about what?
No, zinc and is good for, like I said, the immune system and stomach acid production and wound healing, and also for other things. So, yeah.
Right.
I guess that's...
So downtown.
I'm kind of.
Are you done talking?
No, I'm just kind of baffled by the crappy diet.
Yeah, well. Downtown Vapors also want to know where they can find Berberine Plus. I mentioned it in a previous Jimmy rant. So that's ketoliving.com. So that's a blood sugar regulator.
Yeah.
You like Berberine Plus?
Yeah.
It's got the chromium and the banana leaf and berberine.
That's good stuff if you're having a little bit of trouble with blood sugar issues.
Yep.
And you want something natural to try. I recommend that.
Kimberly says, my doctor informed me this week that I needed to start taking 1,200 milligrams of calcium. I felt really sick. Should I have it and work up to this full dose of 1,200 milligrams of calcium? So calcium is a tricky one, Kimberly. Listen to what Christine's going to have to tell you, because it's not a calcium issue at all.
Right. So a little bit of history kind of would help. Why is he recommending the calcium? But for most people, again, especially if you're doing keto, you're not deficient in calcium.
Plenty of calcium from dairy especially.
Right. It's the problem, the calcium doesn't know where to go into the body if you're deficient in D and K2. So that's probably where you need to be looking.
So vitamin D and K2 is what you need. And actually a lot of companies are now starting to put vitamin D3 and K2 into a supplement together.
Yeah. What I was going to say about the calcium, the problem with taking calcium and not having the D and K2, if you're taking calcium like that, it can build up in inappropriate places, like in your arteries. You can develop bone spurs and things like that. You can develop osteoporosis. So it's possible to have osteoporosis and bone spurs at the same time.
Right.
But it's because the calcium doesn't know where to go.
Right.
And
that's where D3 and K2 come into play.
Yeah, and you also need vitamin D to help the parathyroid in a process called bone remodeling. So if your blood gets too acidic, which means too low on the pH scale, then calcium is taken out of your bones and put into the blood, and it raises the pH of the blood. And likewise, if your blood gets too alkaline or too high on the pH scale, then the calcium is taken out of the blood and put back into the bones. So you need the vitamin D for that to work with your parathyroid and calcitonin.
So for vitamin D, it could be as simple as about 20 minutes of getting as much of your body exposed to sunshine during the daytime. For a lot of people, that's not enough. Depending on where you live, you may need to supplement. We tend to supplement with vitamin D3 gel caps.
Yep.
Just be careful that you don't get gel caps that have soybean oil as the oil that it's in.
Ours is in coconut oil.
Ours is in coconut oil. They make ones in olive oil. I think I've seen them even in like almond oil and other, maybe avocado oil, but make sure you get a good quality one. And then as far as K2, what foods contain K2 that they could be eating more of?
Oh, definitely your organ meats.
Gee, what a surprise! The crappy diet of the 25-year-old, eat organ meats.
And your green leafy vegetables especially have a lot of K2. But I did want to mention
kale,
I did want to mention something about getting out in the sun.
Yes.
If you are on a statin, and
don't be, by the way.
Well, yeah, if you're on a statin and your cholesterol is really low, you're going to have trouble converting.
The conversion.
Because you need the cholesterol to convert that from the sun rays to the vitamin D.
And not just a statin, there's some people that have naturally low cholesterol levels too. So this is another argument for having higher levels of cholesterol. Everybody worries about, quote, high cholesterol going to give them heart disease, but it doesn't. High cholesterol is much more preferred than low, and this vitamin D conversion thing is one of the big reasons why.
Yep.
So hopefully that helped you out, Kimberly. RV Buggin', it looks like keto kicks up hot flashes big time. Anything I can do to lessen them. So this is a hormonal response that Christine doesn't know anything about. Yoke, joke. 2 years ago, she had surgical menopause. So she has a little bit of experience with this. Is it keto causing it?
No, it's not. In my opinion, and this is based on observations that I've personally done on myself. So the hot flashes come from a lack of estrogen, and what happens is, especially, well, let me give you kind of a little background. So before you hit puberty, the responsibility of producing the estrogen is on your adrenal glands. Once you hit puberty, that switches over to the ovaries. Then once you hit menopause, the job of the estrogen production goes back to your adrenal glands. Well, if you've had a crappy diet for a long time, your adrenal glands are probably taxed because they've had to step in to help the pancreas and liver regulate blood sugar. And so the adrenal glands are also responsible for producing those sex hormones. Well, if you're having trouble regulating your blood sugar, the precursor to those sex hormones is pregnenolone. So the adrenal glands will always prioritize the fight or flight response. And so when you have blood sugar irregularities, it's producing that fight or flight response. So the pregnenolone that would go towards the production of the sex hormones goes to the cortisol.
Yep.
So I just did an experiment on myself to see what happened, because I've heard people say
N=1
that keto helps control hot flashes. So
what'd you do?
So for one meal, I had crap.
She ate crap.
I had, and
call the NTA, tell them to pull her NTP license.
Mind you, up until this point, I am on an estrogen patch, and the hot flashes are pretty much controlled with that and the ketogenic diet. But I ate that meal that was a bunch of crap.
And
30 minutes later, I was having the worst hot flashes since my surgery and before taking estrogen, the estrogen patch. I mean, it was like clockwork. And
she's like, is it getting hot in here?
It took a full day, I think, for those hot flashes to go away, even with the estrogen patch. So what was going on was my blood sugar was probably elevated. I didn't measure my blood sugar.
Oh, it had to
but
be
it was elevated.
What you ate.
And so
what'd you eat, by the way?
I don't even remember. I think it was pizza.
Pizza.
I think it was pizza. But so in that instance, my adrenal glands were having to step in to help regulate the blood sugar. So the estrogen production went on the back burner.
And thus, you had hot flashes.
And so I had
So
hot
normally
flashes.
the estrogen would be under control, and that would keep your hot flashes at bay.
If the adrenal glands are not having to worry about blood sugar. And there, unfortunately, there's so many things that can affect blood sugar: stress, lack of sleep. So, I mean, it's not just about what you eat, but
what you eat is a big part of it.
But what you eat is a big part of it. But so I would say that keto is really not causing the hot flashes.
So the moral of this story is?
Regulate your blood sugar.
Don't eat crap, like we said to the 25-year-old earlier. Don't eat crap. So guys, if you're just joining us, we are live on Instagram and YouTube Live. YouTube, we're coming to you here in a minute with your questions, so hold tight. We got a few more here on Instagram. Ketogenic Lord said, have you guys tried raw liver or other raw organs? Is there any benefit to doing it raw as compared to cooking it?
I mean, cooking it does.
Cooking it would degrade some of the nutrients,
right? It does a
right?
little bit, but if you're going to do it raw, definitely the quality matters. The only time that I did it raw was when I got pregnant, and
in 2011.
In 2011, and you went out and got liver. You cut it up into small pieces
raw.
and then stuck it in the freezer.
Like a pill.
And I took it like a pill. That's the only way that I could handle doing it raw.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do raw, yes, the nutrients in there are more intact, but the quality of those organs really matters.
And that pregnancy, which we ended up losing twins with that in 2011, that was what started you on your real food journey. That's when you got real serious about your nutrition. You got real serious about eating keto, and then eventually real whole foods. So that was kind of the foundation. It was a sad experience losing twins, but we were able to spawn inside of you for the first time in your life, caring about what you were putting in your mouth, and it set you down this really great health path that now you're much healthier today as a result. So I'm thankful for that. Kate says, I retain a lot of water but can't drink a lot of fluids because of low sodium levels. I have epilepsy. Is there anything I can do to help with retention? You know anything about that?
Well, the adrenal glands produce a hormone called aldosterone, and that's supposed to regulate how much sodium you dump from the body, or it just regulates that in general. And there's something else called the anti-diuretic hormone that's produced by the pituitary. So maybe there's something either going on with your adrenal glands or your pituitary glands, because the hypothalamus communicates with the pituitary, and then the pituitary it regulates all of the hormones. So I would look to see maybe if your adrenal health is in order. I mean, you can do that by doing a saliva cortisol test, and then maybe having your hormones looked at.
Yeah. Somebody wants to know if you have any thoughts on fermenting organ meats. There's certainly no downside to fermenting literally anything.
Right.
It's going to make whatever that thing is even better. But I would assume for the gut health benefits, fermenting even organ meats would be a yes.
Yeah. I've honestly never heard of that, but I'm sure.
Well, I've heard of fermenting like muscle meat, so it makes sense that you could ferment.
Like the beef jerky and.
Well, no, not even just the beef jerky. You're talking about the Paleo Valley meat sticks.
Yeah.
They do ferment it to help as a preservative, but fermenting organ meats. I wonder what it does to the nutrient density beyond the extra gut bugs, if it makes the nutrients in the organ meats more bioavailable or better absorbed. I don't know.
In my opinion,
I want to see research on that.
Yeah, it would be fascinating, but I would think that eating something fermented is improving gut health. Your small intestine is where a lot of your nutrients...
So it takes in the nutrients better, maybe.
Yeah.
No downside. Di wants to know, do you recommend any vitamin B complex or nutritional yeast? What about B complex?
B complex, it depends on what the person is dealing with. If they're having mood issues or digestive issues, problems with nerve issues, anxiety, anything like that, I would definitely recommend a B complex for that. I know on both, my mom has to do B12 injections, and my dad's mom has to do B12, and so there's a little bit of stuff going on there with some deficiencies.
Well, they don't need keto either. Well, keto, B12 would not be an issue.
Right, it wouldn't. But I was also passed down from both parents the MTHFR C677.
What'd you call me?
MTHFR, methylenosyl tetrahydrofolate reductase.
All right, show off.
Gene mutation from both my mom and dad, the C677T. So
sounds like R2D2. Is there a
Star
Wars reference in here somewhere?
In a sci-fi something or other. But so my body can't convert folic acid into folate, and this is part of why I think we lost our twins, because at that time we didn't know I had that gene mutation. You take folic acid to help birth defects from happening.
That was one MTHFR, man.
I know, right? So for me, I do supplement with some B vitamins, just because I find that if I don't, I can tell in my mood and my anxiety levels.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't have to agree so fast.
You just said mood, and it just triggered me a bit.
Okay, yeah. So as far as nutritional yeast, I've heard, I don't personally use it myself, but I've heard good things about it.
Oh, I hear people use it in cooking,
Yeah. So if you want to use it, go for it.
Brittany from Keto Glow, not a question, not right now. Just wanted to say you two are awesome. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you.
Fat Fueled Fitness also says you're amazing, Christine. Hey, Fat Fueled, what about me? I'm not chump change. Aww. Any foods to help with progesterone and estrogen, says Elvira, and then we're coming to you guys next. Hang tight, you two.
I would just say overall a well-balanced diet, and the main thing is controlling your blood sugar. So if you are eating a clean diet already and you're maybe still having some blood sugar issues, I would look at stress, sleep, other things, because balancing those hormones is paramount to or balancing your blood sugar is paramount to balancing hormones.
Right.
So it's not just one particular food, it's just a well-balanced diet.
All right, I'm going to go to my YouTubers. They have a few questions. So explain why D and K go together. What's the mechanism? Why do they go together?
Now that's getting a little bit above my pay grade because I don't know all of the pathways.
But you know one that doesn't work as efficiently without the other.
Right, they need each other. Just like zinc and copper have an adverse reaction. So if you get too much zinc in you, you're going to be deficient in
It's a yin
copper.
and yang.
Yeah, that's in a yin and yang. But the D and K2 work together, and a lot of our vitamins and minerals work together. They need so they're called cofactors.
Cofactors.
And so they need
We talk
each
about
other.
this in our book,
Yeah.
Real Food Keto, if
Yeah.
people are interested. Lisa wants to know how much magnesium is good to start. I'm taking K2 and D3 and about 300 milligrams of magnesium. I would think, depending on their deficiency in magnesium, what would be other factors that would determine how much magnesium they need, which is one of the electrolytes, by the way.
Right. If you're having any symptoms like muscle cramps or hand cramps or any of that type of
More
thing,
magnesium.
yeah, I would do a little bit more magnesium. You don't want to do too much potassium. That can be dangerous. Too much potassium is just as dangerous as too little potassium. So before you take potassium, I would want to know your potassium status, how you're doing with that. My best recommendation, if you are having the muscle cramps, is to find an electrolyte supplement that's well formulated, because you can get too much of one thing and not enough of another. Again, these things all work together, and so they have to be well formulated and in their proper amounts. Plus, it's a little bit less expensive finding something that's already mixed together instead of taking potassium and magnesium and chloride and all these other things.
Well, that's why we like the Keto Vitals and some of the other ones that are out there, because they do have it all together in one place.
Yeah, and I would recommend, just for starters, follow what's on the bottle. That's what I always tell my clients, because a lot of times I don't know their status, what their body's have in it already. So I'm just telling them to take what's on the bottle. And if they find that they still need, like if you're still having trouble sleeping, maybe up the magnesium a little bit. You want to do the magnesium oxide or the glycinate rather than...
Unless you're constipated, then do citrate.
Unless you're constipated, then you can do the citrate.
You'll never be constipated again if you take magnesium citrate in the proper amounts.
Yeah.
You only do that by accident once.
I know, right?
Just once. Let's see. Mrs. G says PCOS and adrenal fatigue. How do I tell if that's the problem? How do you make the adrenal fatigue better? That's kind of a loaded question, but
so it all starts with the blood sugar regulation,
which is where the PCOS is problematic.
Yeah. So if you have PCOS, you are probably
insulin
likely
resistant.
that you have insulin resistance. And so getting that blood sugar, if it's not already under control, you need to get that under control. And there are specific nutrients that are good for the adrenals. Copper is one of those things. It's hard to find that one. You need to take that probably in a multivitamin. The adrenals also need the B vitamins, and magnesium is good for it. So I would say start with checking your blood sugar to see how that's doing.
Yeah, never a bad idea.
And I think ashwagandha is an adaptogen that is good for adrenal health if you have adrenal fatigue. So look into that. I think licorice root is another good thing for adrenal health. So I would want to know why the adrenals and the PCOS is happening. And it goes back to the blood sugar issue there.
And if you're interested in adaptogens, I just did a whole podcast on Keto Talk. Go to ketotalk.com, all about a primer on various adaptogens, including ashwagandha and a bunch of other words I can't say. So Deneen wants to know, how much organ meat should you eat weekly? Is there a set amount?
Oh my goodness. I mean,
it depends on your deficiency in various areas.
Yeah, it depends on the deficiency, but I'm just talking like a small amount in your big mix of either ground up hamburger. I mean, you only need a tiny bit to get the nutrients. So do like that, 2 or 3 times a week, and you're good.
Right.
If that helps, I hope that helped.
You done?
Yeah.
Because it disappeared on me while you were talking.
Oh. You know I love running my mouth.
Yeah, she runs her mouth. You are married to Jimmy Moore.
Hey, I have to keep up with you.
Hallie says, thank you to Christine for promoting the NTP program. It disappeared again. I hate YouTube. It makes it so hard to read it because you got to hold your thumb down on it to make it not disappear. Without your influence, along with Jimmy's in the keto space, I may not have discovered my passion. I am starting the program in May.
Yay!
That is so awesome, Hallie. Congratulations.
You're going to do awesome.
Can organ meat cause gout? Why would organ meat cause gout? Carbs cause gout.
No, yeah, it's the carbs.
Why do triglycerides go up when you eat carbs? Do you know the process or mechanism? I don't think that. I think that's outside of your NTP.
It is. I can just speak generally. It's the way the fats are broken down. The triglycerides is made of glycerol and the fats, and so it's just the type of fat that it is. I think that causes when you eat a lot of carbs, that puts more fat in your body. I know that it kind of goes against what we've been told about, no, it's eating fat that makes you fat. But no, it's eating the carbs that puts more fat in your bloodstream.
Right.
And that's why they're a problem.
Right. My thyroid panel is barely in the normal range. Are there any foods that will help improve these low levels? Deneen wants to know.
So anything that's rich in iodine you have to be careful with, because if you have an autoimmune condition,
which you do, Hashimoto's,
doing the iodine can actually make things worse. But if you don't have an autoimmune condition, you want to eat the things that are rich in iodine, and those are a lot of your sea vegetables like spirulina, kelp, things like that.
Right.
And then tyrosine is another thing that the thyroid depends on. So getting enough of the tyrosine, which is an amino acid.
Got it. Darla wants to know, is there a natural way to increase estrogen after medical-induced change? I had it done 20 years ago.
Wow. To naturally... again, I think it goes back to the blood sugar. As long as, if your blood sugar is under control, then you're taking those over the other stuff, because the body can recognize the bioidentical hormones better. So that's a little bit out of my pay grade. I would see somebody that deals with hormonal imbalances and things like that. That's not something that I really specialize in.
Sure.
But making sure your blood sugar is under control is the first step.
So Gail is wondering about why she's having hair loss, been balding since about 6 months ago, been keto 2.5 years, don't want to blame it on keto. I'm seeing my dermatologist, have been taking biotin and collagen. Is there anything else I should be doing? Well, it depends on her calorie intake, because if you eat calories, your hair will fall out. Sometimes even just a new change in your diet will do that as well. But she says 2.5 years on keto, so that would be it.
I would, if you haven't already, consider having a full thyroid panel done. I mean, when I say full, I mean
all of it.
Everything, including the antibodies.
Maybe we do a whole Nutritional Pearls about all those things and what they mean.
Yeah.
If you're interested.
Yeah,
Would you guys be interested?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
But hypothyroidism, a classic sign of that is hair loss. And so if you're also dealing with fatigue, if you're dealing a little bit with mood issues, if you're dealing with weight gain, unexplained weight gain, feelings of being cold in a room temperature room, then I would seriously...
You just described all of your symptoms, and you've had big clumps of hair come out in the past.
Yeah, I have, and it was due to my thyroid. So I would seriously look at your calorie intake and then consider having a full panel done, thyroid panel.
Just had thyroid run last week. Doctor said it was okay. Well, but Gail, that doesn't mean a darn thing, because when they look at thyroid, they're looking at TSH only, generally, maybe T3
and T4.
And T4.
But here's the thing: your TSH, T3, and T4 can all be in the normal range, but if they're not looking at those other numbers, like the antibodies and the reverse T3. Thank you. Those numbers can be off with your TSH, T3, and T4 being normal. The problem is the way the medical system works now. the doctors are told based on TSH, T3, and T4, if those are okay, then there's nothing wrong. But if you're having symptoms, there's something going on with your thyroid.
Yeah, definitely look up 2 resources. Datis Karazian, just do your best to spell it in a Google search. He's got a great book about thyroid. If you put in DATIS and thyroid in a Google search, you'll find his book.
Yeah.
And then Janie Bowthorpe, why do I still have symptoms when I'm told my thyroid is normal or something like that? And we'll do a whole Nutritional Pearls at some point going over all those numbers.
Yep.
All right, YouTube Live, I'm going to set you back down because we got a few more questions over here on Instagram Live. Again, if you're just joining us, we are doing our weekly Jimmy Rants Nutritional Pearls podcast crossover episode. I'm Jimmy Moore. This is Christine Moore, NTP. She's answering questions all about nutritional therapy as she stabs me with her rings. What do you think about CLA conjugate linoleic acid? Chow from Italy says Tunello71. You know anything about CLA conjugate linoleic acid? What about linoleic acid? You know what that is?
I know it's an essential amino acid.
Right.
And linoleic acid, that's your
She's going between
omega
linoleic and linolenic.
Yes.
Because there's 2 that are really close in.
That's your omega-6s.
Right.
The alpha linolenic acid is your omega-3. So if you're speaking in regards to the omega-6s, then yes, those are they're important. We need them in our diet. We need a healthy mix of all the fats.
But people freak out when you start talking about omega-6 fats because they're so ubiquitous in the American diet in the bad form, vis-a-vis vegetable oils, that people recoil in fear over omega-6, but it's still an essential fatty acid that people often neglect.
The quality, the sourcing is very important. So you can get them in raw nuts and seeds. You can
almonds.
Yeah, and then you can also get them in the oils, but the caveat here is that those oils have to be in dark bottles and they have to be cold pressed and organic.
Not cold processed, because they'll play games with you. Cold process is highly processed.
Yeah.
You want cold pressed.
Yeah.
We had all this information, by the way, in Real Food Keto if you want to get a copy of our book.
Yep. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. All the way from Italy. Thanks for being here.
We're going to be going there next month.
We are. In less than a month, we're going to Italy. So what time is it in Italy? It's like almost 11 o'clock at night. So thank you for watching late night edition of the Nutritional Pearls podcast. Why do you think carnivore is doing so well for you, Brashley? Well, let me ask NTP. By the way, I'm not doing carnivore. I will make this distinction all day, every day, because carnivore is way too high in protein for my metabolism. I'm doing keto carnivore. Regular Jimmy Rants followers will know that I make that distinction. But what do you think about why I'm doing well on this as compared to traditional keto?
What happened?
I don't know.
That's weird.
It paused for a second.
So first of all, let me just clarify that it's interesting, the experiments that you've done. You've done high protein and you've done high fat, and you did horrible on each of those.
Yes.
But once you got the mix of the fat and the protein correct, your body seems to do very well with it. You have some genetic factors where your glycogenetic pathway or whatever doesn't work right.
Gluconeogenesis doesn't work right.
It doesn't work
Not glycogenetic.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. I was trying to think of the
See,
words.
she learned all these words in the nutritional
They're
therapy
all running
practitioner.
together.
Gluconeogenesis, glycogenolysis.
Glucogenetic.
There's so many close sounding words. You got to keep up with them.
But anyway,
I'll keep you straight.
So that pathway is not working right. So it was important for you to find the
proper mix.
The proper mix. So I think a lot of people do really well on carnivore because maybe they have some gut health issues. By going keto carnivore, especially, you starve those bad bugs that may be in your gut.
Yes.
And we've noticed that your skin has cleared up.
Oh yeah, skin's really clear.
So that tells me that insulin is going down, your blood sugar is more under control. So I think it's just a matter of
inflammation down too.
Inflammation's down. So I think I'm still trying to decide how I feel about keto carnivore long term.
Well, and what's the definition of long term? I have a stated goal of doing keto carnivore for at least this year.
Yeah.
And I think with the severity of issues I'm still dealing with, if it could be one of the tracks by which I can start healing some of the insulin resistance even more, it could put me on the path where then when I can reintroduce very small amounts of green leafy vegetables, that could be a good thing.
And for some people, even the green leafy vegetables can cause blood sugar issues. And so I think as a therapeutic measure, I don't think everybody necessarily needs to go keto carnivore, but I think if you're dealing with certain things like poor gut health, blood sugar issues, elevated insulin, I think going keto carnivore for a therapeutic measure is a great idea.
Yeah. Brittany says, okay, now I want to be an NTP. I so love this information. I've learned a lot of this being in the natural health field for years, but this info is amazing. Brittany, it's amazing because Christine was the same way. She had heard me for years on my podcast, and she thought she knew a lot about nutrition. Then she went through the nutritional therapy practitioner program and was like, oh my gosh, I just barely scratched the surface of what I think I know. So highly, highly recommend the nutritional therapy practitioner program. Go to nutritionaltherapy.com and you can learn all about the NTA and what they do and what they're about. They're all about real food. They're not explicitly a keto program, but they sure do love those of us in the keto space.
They're very friendly towards
They
those
talk about healthy
keto
fats. They don't vilify cholesterol. They're very much within the camp of if you're keto and you want some way to educate people and to do it with some certification, both of us could not highly recommend enough the NTP program.
Yep.
Keto carnivore has also been better for me, says Alberto. Can be the goitrogens, oxalates, and other anti-nutrients the problems for some people. Yeah.
So if you have thyroid issues, then there are certain foods like broccoli and other, Brussels sprouts I think is one. There are certain foods that are goitrogenic that affect the thyroid that kind of mess with how the thyroid works. And so if you're one of those people that has the thyroid issues like that, then definitely keto carnivore can be a real asset.
So Beth Keto Neogenesis says, if I have not been tested for MTHFR, sorry, I always wanted to do that, is it advisable to take methylated folate, methylated B vitamins? I have started because I feel like I was symptomatic of all that I've read, and I do feel better. The thing with B vitamins is if you consume them beyond what your body needs, you'll pee them out, right?
Right, but I think what she's asking is that if she hasn't...
She can take it. There's no harm in taking it.
It's definitely easier on the body to go ahead and take the methylated form.
There's no downside to it because you'll pee out if there's any that you didn't need.
Right, exactly. It's one of those water-soluble vitamins, and so, I mean, I just had my annual checkup, and my B vitamin status was, I think, 1,000 B12, and the physician's assistant said, I'm not worried about that because you just really pee out the excess. And I take quite a bit because I notice that I do struggle with mood sometimes, and the B vitamins are very important for me.
Let's see. Who's the best doctor for running a full thyroid panel? Would it be an endocrinologist or some other kind of doctor? Really, any doctor could do it.
Find a functional medicine doctor that they have different ranges. So if you go to a functional medicine doctor, their ranges are more what's functional, really functional and optimal. Right. Going to a regular doctor, their ranges,
they look at sick people.
Yeah.
That's the ranges.
And they're less likely to do a full panel.
I don't want normal for sick people. I want normal for very healthy people, which is why functional medicine practitioners, my Keto Talk co-host is one, Dr. Will Cole, their ranges are far different. And in fact, if you listen to Keto Talk this week, we're going to do a whole primer all about the various health tests that you can run, why you run them, and then what the functional range is. So go listen to ketotalk.com this week. Later on Thursday is when that will air, and we'll talk all about those. But that's all the time, and that's all the questions we have for this edition of the Nutritional Pearls podcast, the Jimmy Rants crossover episode. So nutritionalpearlspodcast.com is the website if you are interested in checking out what we do there. Any final words of wisdom from Miss
That's funny.
NTP.
My main thing is just be kind to yourself. I know that hearing all this information can be overwhelming, and looking online can be overwhelming. Find somebody that you trust, that you can get your information from, and learn to listen to your body. That's really important, because if you're not feeling well, something is going on, and you can't rely on a doctor to tell you, well, nothing's wrong with you. You know your body the best, so be kind to yourself and listen to your body.
And can I encourage you that if you hear something that's interesting to you, I know we talk about a lot of things here in a lot of different ways on this show, look it up. Do your own research. Dig a little deeper, and don't necessarily take everything you hear at face value, be it from me and Christine or anybody online. Hear the information, then go do your research and figure it out for yourself, because sometimes the best kind of aha moments is when you're triggered to learn more, then you go learn more, and then you can start applying what you've learned. And that's one of the goals that we try to do on the Nutritional Pearls podcast, is give you nuggets of information that you can take and run with it in the research. Not enough people do that.
Right.
Everybody just takes what people say at face value, and that's no bueno.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much. And until next time on the Nutritional Pearls podcast.